Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Bowman, Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Brain. Welcome to this presentation, Breaking Free from Legacy EDI Systems, Lessons from Hirschbach's Migration to Orderful, presented by Orderful. One quick reminder, there will be an audience question and answer session at the end of this presentation. Audience members are encouraged to submit their questions at any time during the presentation by clicking on that Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Now, legacy electronic data interchange, or EDI systems, can slow growth, strain resources, and leave teams with limited visibility into critical processes. So today, we're going to learn how Hirschbach motor lines reduced onboarding times from 12 weeks to just 2 to 3 weeks by transitioning from a legacy system to Orderful's modern EDI platform. We'll see how Hirschbach gained full control over its EDI operations, cut down errors with real-time validation, and scaled capabilities without increasing internal resource demands. Let's take a look at our agenda for our presentation today. We're going to start talking about Hirschbach's journey with EDI. Then we're going to turn to Orderful and get some info about them and how they figure into the EDI picture. Digibee is going to chime in with their own integration journey. That will be the panel portion of our presentation. Then we'll move into Q&A. We'll have the panel, and then we'll have audience Q&A. Big reminder, don't forget, submit your questions at any time, and we'll wrap up with key takeaways and next steps for achieving this transition journey away from legacy EDI. So with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Ivan Ramirez is Chief Technology Officer with Hirschbach Motor Lines. Ivan leads the company's technology strategy, overseeing software development, supply chain optimization, and logistics innovation. With over 15 years of experience as a technology leader, Ivan specializes in driving innovation, improving development workflows, and championing organizational design initiatives that align with business objectives. Eric Kaiser is founder and CEO at Orderful, the modern EDI platform. Before joining Orderful, Eric worked as a consultant building custom EDI environments. This hands-on experience led him to create Orderful, which strives to make the way companies integrate and trade data as easy as flipping a light switch. And Rodrigo Bernardinelli is the CEO and co-founder of Digibee, a provider of cloud-based integration software for enterprise businesses worldwide. Rodrigo has over 25 years of experience in the software industry. He founded Digibee in 2017 with a vision to create a software solution to reduce time and costs from integration development work that's easy to use, future-proof, and scalable. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have all of you here with us today. I want to start out by asking each of you to quickly review, tell us a little bit about your company. Let's start with Ivan. Ivan, tell us about Hirschbach.
Sure. So, well, thanks for having me here. Hirschbach is a leading transportation company. We specialize in temperature controlled. We're privately held. The company was built on a very strong reputation in the industry, and they're very, very much committed to quality, innovation, and exceptional service. You know, our company has a rich history of forward thinking, and we continue to be one of the trusted partners in transportation for many companies out there that require temperature controlled service. I'm particularly new to the transportation industry, so it was interesting to run into EDI again. I come from an e-commerce background, and I have encountered EDI in the past. But let me tell you, in transportation, there is nothing standard about EDI. It's a bit more standard in e-commerce transportation. Absolutely nothing standard about EDI. So a little bit about our company, and yeah, I took on this journey to help the company transform our EDI, and I personally took on this challenge, and here we are, and really have enjoyed the journey with Orderful.
Thanks, Ivan, and welcome. Eric Kaiser, tell us about Orderful.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Yeah, Orderful is a modern EDI platform that's bringing supply chains together. We work across logistics and retail, as Ivan mentioned. But the essence of our product is all around speed, right? We built a developer-friendly tool that makes it really easy and scalable and fast to trade EDI. My previous experience was in my past life, building EDI integrations from the ground up. So traveling to a manufacturer and building their whole integration environment in a custom way, which I think is very common for enterprises today, right? EDI has been around for more than 30 years. These environments have evolved over time. And the way that companies have traditionally solved this is with resources building point-to-point integration solutions for their own supply chain. The idea of Orderful came because I recognized the challenges of actually integrating with a company like Walmart, right? You would think that would be pretty straightforward, but it would take me a quarter, maybe 2 quarters to go live with a company like Walmart. And as a company, we kind of reimagined how the problem could be solved. So that the essence of Orderful is all around speed. As we're going to talk about, how we make it faster, right? We do a few things in our product, like we automatically transform data. So we offer an API that's a very modern developer experience. We automatically transform data into the EDI format of the partner. And then we also have AI in the platform that enables users to actually automate the translation of their data into the correct format and requirements of their trading partners as well. So everything we're doing, all the product we're building is all around how to make the EDI problem kind of go away, turn it into a modern developer experience, and make it easy and fast for businesses like Hirschbach. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Eric. Rodrigo Bernardinelli, what's the story with Digibee and its role in the integration landscape?
Right, thank you, Bob. So Digibee provides a modern SaaS integration platform to connect many disparate applications out there, from modern APIs into legacy or traditional systems that runs our customers' businesses. So we did that by fully automating the life cycle of an integration development using what we call the AI pair programming, where AI will support on the build of this data flows between systems, and also with this concept of zero operations, where our platform takes care of the whole resilience that enterprises need, especially in the supply chain business. And we partnered with Orderful to augment their solutions and providing the last mile use case to connect their modern EDI platform into customers' traditional systems, many times using platforms that sometimes are inflexible or need code or need development time. So with that, we dramatically reduce the time and cost for integrations out there, right? So that's a bit about Digibee.
Thank you. Once again, welcome all. It's great to have all three of you here with us today. Let me get back to Ivan. And, you did talk about how you kind of come back to EDI and your role with Hirschbach. I'm wondering if you could tell me more about Hirschbach and your role in EDI operations today, along with the specific challenges you were facing with your own legacy EDI system.
Yeah, like I said, I reconnected with EDI. I mean, my early days of e-commerce, we had to deal with EDI and flatbot transfers. We then modernized all that and went to APIs, and then I found myself again dealing with EDI. And the biggest challenges that I had coming into to Hirschbach was that we had constant outages, right? That was the biggest thing that we were fighting at the time. Less than ideal support Everything was in a black box. We didn't have any expertise within the organization that knew what was going on behind the scenes with those configurations for every EDI trading partner. And like I mentioned earlier, right? Like EDI is supposed to be standard, but there's absolutely nothing standard about EDI. That's the funny thing about the whole thing. And in transportation, it's even worse. It's every single customer has some custom integration that you need to do. So when you don't have an understanding of all of that, and all of that is in a black box, you can't move fast. You can't make any changes to those integrations of fear of breaking them, right? And when things do break, it takes time to get those things back up and running. So literally within 45 days of being here, we had 3-4 major outages. I finally said one weekend, we had an outage that lasted about 6 hours. I said, enough is enough. I'm not taking this anymore. And I was like, I'm going to go out and see if they have, a modernized EDI, solution out there, because, and that is really what led me to going out there and looking for an alternative. And now I took it upon myself. I figured I was like, I'm new in this industry. Let me go and tackle this. There's got to be someone good out there. But that is how, that is how I looked for the solution, because we had a lot of pain in our operation, lots of pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're dealing with a technology that had a split identity at its moment of conception. You're going all the way back to which types of EDI companies wanted to use, Europe versus America, and that kind of thing. So it's great that we now have the opportunity to bring all that together. But I'm just wondering, though, Ivan, how long did it typically take before to onboard new trading partners before Orderful came along?
We had trading partners that have been waiting for 60 to 90 days to get onboarded, which was just absolutely insane. When I think of onboarding a trading partner, I'm thinking of business, right? I mean, telling somebody, hey, wait a minute, I know you want to give me business, but stand by there for 90 days until I get this figured out. It's just unacceptable, right? Completely unacceptable. And so it was a very critical part of our business. We were bringing on a lot of new customers. We had to fight the stability of the system, but we also had to fight to get the trading partners up and running a lot faster. And, I understand that some of these delays of onboarding a new trading partner are not necessarily on the trading partner side, but on their service provider side, because that's what we find is that even the trading partner itself feels, oh, this will be done within a few weeks, but that's not the reality. Once they hand it off to their third party, value-added network provider or third party platform, it takes it takes months, right? So we really we knew that we needed an improvement in this. And again, coming from that e-commerce background, I knew that there had to be a faster way to get this stuff up and running, right? And
Eric, hearing what Ivan just said, I'm just wondering, in your opinion, how common are these types of challenges across the industry?
Yeah, if you didn't ask me, I was going to tell you.
I'm sure you were.
It's super common. I mean, it's kind of what I mentioned early when I introduced Orderful and how we got the idea. The challenge is that, companies, do their best to build these integrations over time, right? And what happens is you start stacking up solution over solution. And, over the course of 10 years, you may end up building, call it hundreds or thousands of point-to-point integrations. Yeah. And that becomes very unwieldy to manage, right? What Ivan was mentioning with the black box, like that may be like an EDI specific term, but, the challenge that I saw is every time I would, and we see this every day, every time we go to a new customer, we're trying to help them kind of modernize something that they don't really understand themselves, right? So what Orderful can provide, and what we're able to help Ivan with, is provide kind of the platform and the infrastructure to solve the problem, so he doesn't have to think about it. But this is a very, very common challenge where companies have made really, I would say, good decisions over time, but those decisions end up being something that becomes very unwieldy and very, very hard to manage, where you don't understand, things like where translations live, or where errors could be, or what the cause of an outage is, right? Like,
Yeah.
if an EDI is mission critical. It's a need, not a want, right? Like, if there's an outage, that means Ivan's not getting orders for the day, right? And that's a huge blow on revenue. So it's a mission critical part of the tech stack that has been very overlooked over time.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just want to ask you, Ivan, okay, you got fed up. You needed a solution. We're talking about Orderful here, but why? What made you choose Orderful specifically over other possible solutions?
Yeah, and if I may just add really quickly to what Eric said, the thing in transportation, right? In e-commerce, the order comes in, and if the order's not in your order manager, in your order management system or down your warehouse, you can take the time to get that order down there. In transportation, it's different. In transportation, right, the shipper presents that EDI tender to you, and you have to respond within a certain period of time. If you don't respond, you lose it. Right? So just because you're integrated with a customer doesn't mean that they'll guarantee you the loads. You have to respond in a timely manner in order to get that business, which makes it even more challenging, right? I think for us, our selection process came down. We wanted there's actually a joke internally, because I said, guys, just look at all these legacy EDI providers and look at their websites, and that's how we're going to talk. We're going to pick the ones that were, those that have modern looking websites. We'll talk to those guys first. Interestingly enough, it actually worked.
Our marketing's working.
Some of these guys had not updated. Some of these guys have not updated their websites for years. So I think our selection process came down to, we were looking for somebody that was thinking about EDI in a very modern approach. And going into it, I didn't even know if that existed, right? I was afraid that, hey, I may just have to deal with the hand that was dealt to me, right? And deal with these legacy providers. So we were looking for somebody that was really that was going to deal with all the X12 complexities and configurations and all of that. And I wanted a very basic single JSON file that I can take and integrate into my transportation management system. So we were also looking for a lot of elegance. I come from a world where I build a lot of consumer-facing applications, and handling things gracefully, which sometimes I think in the back-end systems we kind of forget about that, and we just kind of live with those things. We're looking for an elegant and modernized interfaces, because we knew that we were going to interact with these systems to make configuration changes, and we needed it to be easy. But the part that really captivated our team was the simplicity of the documentation, right? The modern interfaces, the AI component, and being able to test these connections, right, before you actually got into testing, because that's an area where you spend the majority of the time is in testing, right? And if you can reduce the amount of back and forth between the trading partner and us, then that was able. So we were really, really drawn to that, the ability to test those things before we actually got into testing with the trading partner itself. So
was that really the thing that stood out in the implementation exercise that made the testing aspect of it, or?
Yeah, the testing one was a big one, because we knew that would reduce time to onboard. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard selling an EDI product, because the market, has seen the same solution over and over for the last 30 years, just packaged differently, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Orderful, we've taken a completely different approach to the problem, and I think, we've kind of hit some of the key needs that Ivan had, which is reliability, the transparency of seeing all the information, and the modern API, which enables his team to get the job done really quickly.
Okay, but it's a brand new solution, but you still have to plug it into certain back-end systems. You need to integrate with those systems. Is API the answer? Just which systems need to be integrated?
Yeah, it depends.
Go ahead.
Depends on the type of company. It could be a TMS, an ERP, a WMS. But anybody that has a supply chain is trading EDI. So whatever that system of record is where that integration needs to go. But Rodrigo would probably be great at
Rodrigo's our integration man here, so I want
he's
to
our integration expert.
definitely. So
But-
please, Rodrigo, tell us from an integrator's perspective what made this particular implementation unique.
But Ivan was about to talk about the systems that we're about to integrate, right?
Oh, right. Okay, so finish that thought.
Yeah, no, I think the systems traditionally, I think everyone directly integrates to the TMS. I think we're taking a bit of a different approach in that. I think we are creating an abstraction layer for that and actually integrating into what we call a load management system. That's an area where Digibee really helped us with, because we actually leveraged Digibee. I asked Orderful, I said, look, I want to do something a little bit different. I don't have the skill set right now because I was building out the team. And I need a simple way to handle these integrations. And Digibee was the answer on that for us, right? And most importantly, it had a lot of the observability. I'm big on observability. And when you're integrating systems, you've got to have good observability, right? Because you don't want your customer coming to tell you this is broken. You need to know that it's broken before it, So that was a big attraction for us when it came to Digibee. But I think naturally everyone wants to integrate things into the TMS. We're taking a bit of a different approach. We're putting into a load management system, and that load management system will end up making a lot of the decisions of where the load needs to go and then feed it into the right TMS, right? Some companies have multiple TMSs because they run different businesses. They'll run a brokerage, they'll run a dedicated and over the road business. So we did it slightly different. We integrated into an LMS. It's working for us. It's just a bit of a different approach. It's what I tell everyone here. It's like, in e-commerce, in the early days, we fed the order into the warehouse management system, and then that's where you decided what warehouse it was going to ship from, what box it was going to ship, what level of service it was going to ship out. Well, that's too late, in my opinion. That needs to happen upstream somewhere else. So we're doing exactly the same thing with our load management system. As we're taking the outputs from Orderful, piping it in our load management system. And then we've also normalized a lot of that, because a lot of those customizations happen in the integrations. We've taken all those customizations out of the integration, and we've normalized the communication between the load management system and Orderful. And then anytime we need to make any changes, they're literally second changes that we do within the Orderful UI.
Okay, so over to you, Rodrigo. Let's hear the integrator's perspective on this particular implementation.
Perfect. Well, so first of all, we have this unique mindset that Ivan has about digitalizing everything, leveraging modern solutions that can really accelerate and streamline the businesses. This is halfway through when you need to really connect to legacy applications, right? So the other important requirement that we're looking for was, as Ivan mentioned, the outages that he was experiencing back then. And when you have to deal with multiple partners, hundreds of different partners, especially our customers or out there, you have to have a great capability to diagnose when things goes wrong. So it's not just about you integrate your systems and making sure the data is moving, but also when things goes wrong, and believe it will go wrong at some point, you have the tools and the capability to react and act immediately to put the business back on track. So our integration, our approach for integration is by automating much of that burden into a platform where we abstract that complexity of building resilience, of having to do with performance, making sure that with one endpoint not available, what we can do about it, and having the resiliences for that, the whole observability. So we have this platform approach where the platform takes care of much of the thing. But the platform is not enough, right? You need to have the right recipe to move on and start building our integrations. So, okay, I'm having all the orderful data coming through the pipeline, but then I have to connect that, to integrate with my legacy systems. What should I do? That's a simple recipe, and sometimes it's forgotten by the teams. First, you need to make sure there are connectivity around, that I can safely connect to like orderful systems, and then back to my in-house on-premise system. How do I do that? Secondly, I have to provide a secure platform. I can't hack anything. So we have to have a way to secure access for everybody. We're trading business information, very restricted, right? So we have to make sure that we have access and secure access. Last but not lastly, not last and third, we need to understand the contracts between both systems. I mean, the data mapping. How do I map an API to a database into AS400 systems? That was a use case for Ivan. Fourth, once I build it using that data, how do I test? And test is paramount for the success. It's not only to make sure that your systems is working, but the trading is happening with our business partner, with our trading partner. And lastly, we talk about a little bit is troubleshooting. So once something goes wrong, we need to act. So by combining this platform approach with this method of delivering integration, we've been able to augment the solution and put in record time to get together with Orderful team all the integrations needed that Hirschbach pretty much needed for what they're asking for.
Yeah, it sounds like, Eric, it sounds like speed was especially important in this. I'm wondering, is that kind of the thing that set Orderful's approach apart from traditional EDI implementations, or what other things do you think distinguish you from the old way of doing things?
Yeah, the way that speed is the essence of the product, right? It's whether it's speed when you're integrating, when you're testing with a trading partner, or resolving a production issue, right? It's not just about onboarding. Although I'd say EDI onboarding and adding new partners is probably the biggest challenge with EDI. But we focus on speed in all those categories. I think the way we do that, like there's a lot of things we do in our platform we continue to build to increase the value of speed, right? So decrease the amount of time it takes to go live, decrease the amount of time to translate data, decrease the amount of time to solve a production issue. So time to value is really important for us. And the unique aspects of Orderful is we have a network. So anytime we add a trading partner once to our platform, they're published in our network, and anyone can access those requirements through our API. So currently we have about 10,000 companies published in the network. So when Ivan and Rodrigo got started, Rodrigo had to build an integration between this load tendering system and Orderful. But as soon as they built that integration, they had access to this larger network of shippers and carriers that already exist, that are already live and trading in our platform. So because we have those requirements in the network, it's really fast and easy to start testing.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of it is the whole testing experience. Like Orderful, because we have those requirements, we can validate data in real time. So instead of a developer, traditionally in EDI, and this is what I experienced on the ground, is I would build an integration and then email the file to a partner, and then let the partner get back to me, for example, Walmart or whoever it could be, get back to me about my problems. And I'm not perfect. When I was developing EDI, I made a ton of mistakes. But the challenge there is I would get an email back, and then it would take weeks for them to respond again. So I'd get that email back, solve the problem, send them the new file, and then it would take more weeks. And that's where all the time is really, that's where the time challenge is. And with our product, what these guys have been able to do, and I saw this in Ivan's first slide, the Ferrari of EDI systems, which is maybe the greatest compliment of all time. But what our product does is we'll automatically validate data in the platform. So instead of having to send and wait for your trading partner to respond, you can post data to Orderful. We'll tell you in real time what's wrong with the payload. So what that means is like the time to iterate for developers really fast, right? So instead of waiting and then having to go back and make a change. You can post data, get real-time feedback, and solve the problem in seconds.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's kind of the core kind of secret sauce for the platform, if you will, is that real-time validation, that whole kind of API-driven experience.
Well, again, to this issue of speed, the knock on EDI from the very start was the lag that was created by the fact it was built around batch processing. Have you overcome that now through this new technology?
We support batch processing. We support, we also queue our transactions. So, however the enterprise would like to handle the transactions, we can organize the data that way. EDI transactions were batched because they used to be sent over telephone, right? With the modern internet, you can, with APIs and web services, you can get past kind of the legacy way of doing business and move into a modern age, and that's what we're trying to help with.
Great.
Well, and the reality is also there's some trading partners that just need to batch things. It's just the way they operate.
How they do it.
It's just how they do it, and that's the part that's the most painful about this stuff, is that it's like, hey, we don't have to do it that way anymore. But the answer is like, sorry, that's just the way our system works. So therefore, you got to continue to support it.
I mean, the existence of the continuing existence of the vans of value-added networks, I thought, kind of led themselves to that state of affairs. But
well, the challenge is that everybody has some legacy EDI infrastructure, right? And so there's opportunity to modernize the whole thing and trade differently, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to solve in the market. That's the thing I'm most passionate about, is actually seeing the product work, and getting it in the hands of people that have these everyday challenges. But yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, is like, you may be integrating with Walmart, but it's still going to be maybe 20 or 30-year-old technology.
Right. Okay, well, we've heard a lot of great things here, but I'm wondering, from Ivan's standpoint, which of these orderful features have had the biggest impact on your operations to date?
I've got to say it's got to be the rules engine. I mean, the rules engine is by far the thing that stood out the most, because every time we had to make a change to a trading rule, we had to file a ticket with that vendor, and that vendor had to go off and do some programming to get that done. Now, this is also going to depend very much on how you design your integration, between Orderful and Digibee and your internal system. But we designed it in a way where we literally normalized all the transactions in and out of the TMS, and then all customization and rules happens within this beautiful user interface that I've got one person. Just, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, I saw we had a request to make some changes in some of the SRC codes that we sent back to our shippers. That would have taken a ticket and maybe a couple of days. We did it within seconds. Our team went in to the rules engine, changed it. Now, Orderful is getting the full number of SRC codes, right? Because that's the way we designed it. But then when we go into the rules engine, we say, oh, hey, for this customer, now only send these 2 or 3, save, done, right? I mean, it was slick. I really love that part. So to me, that was the part that really, because we want to be super flexible with our customers when they want changes made, right? So yeah, I would say that was by far the one that stood out the most for me, because they gave us control. Gave us control of that. Yeah.
How did you register and react to customer rules before this? I mean, you must have had some kind of setup, but it probably was nowhere near as effective.
We did, yeah. And like I said, it was we would get an email from commercial, would get an email from the customer.
Oh, right.
That email would go to our EDI team, which was a group of 4 or 5, and then they would have to file a ticket with the EDI provider, and then 2-3 days later, it would be implemented.
Okay. So Rodrigo, do you believe that this whole modern EDI approach we're talking about today has just really solved the problem of integration complexity? Maybe not removed it, but addressed it. I'm wondering which. Tell me about how that's kind of manifested.
Oh yeah, definitely reduced. So it's a totally different complexity that we have right now. because much of the infrastructure now can run through APIs, right? So we can build those systems to run in a more modern way and almost mimicking what will be an online systems, even though we have trading partners doing batch, as we just talk a bit. So technology like Orderful is being able to consolidate all of that data and giving the power back to the customers so they can react quickly and themselves without having to rely on third parties. And that's the same approach we have with our technology. So Orderful is being fully empowered to tap on that complexity themselves with just leveraging the platform to do a business rule change, to do testing, to connect to their inner systems. So this complexity is being handled better by this new cloud-based and modern technology. So it's the way to go. It's the way to tackle that without being having to deal with long projects and costly one, and that's a part of it, right? So how can we reduce costs and getting our environment running better with a reduced team, but automated?
Okay. Well,
And
thank you
less
very much
costs.
for that. Yeah, this has been a great discussion on the panel part. I want to move into some key takeaways that we can derive from it. As we're doing that, though, I do want to remind our audience that we will have a Q&A section following after that involving the audience. So please continue to post your questions by clicking on that Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to as many of them as we can, time permitting. So key takeaways based on what we've heard for the last few minutes. Let's start with you, Ivan. Tell me about, so is modernization here? Is it achievable? What's next with modernization of EDI?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I want to remind everyone that I mean, EDI is still complex on the back end. I mean, the root of EDI is still there. It's just Orderful has allowed at least me to forget about all that complexity. I don't have to think in terms of X12, right? I think in terms of JSON transactions. So I think that it's definitely it's here there, and the advice that I would give to, well, let me just take that back for a second. I think that the next steps for us in terms of continuing to modernize EDI is that we need to complete all of our migrations. That's probably one of the challenges that I don't think, even with how easy Orderful could make the testing and everything, there's still a ton of delays that are just deeply rooted delays that happen within the EDI departments of these companies. So once we're done with all of that, I mean, we will continue to really spend a lot more time on the load management system. So this has allowed me to solve the EDI issue quickly in a very elegant way, get to the project faster, because literally I got to this 45 days into my role, and I hadn't built out a team yet. And then it's going to allow me to then take time to focus more on that load management system, where we need to put a lot of intelligence into how to distribute our loads across our network, so we can keep the network balance and maximize profitability. So I think it's and yeah, so that's the area where that's sort of next for us in terms of where we go from here in our EDI modernization roadmap. But there's just not a lot more that I've got to do there. Like, these guys have helped me solve such a major problem, right? And I can now go off and focus on other areas of the business.
Okay, Rodrigo, please sum up for us the integration landscape, how the integration needs are evolving, how complexity can be managed in the EDI space.
Yeah, I would say so. Don't run away from the complexity. I know it's scary. So when you have to deal with and you know your playground, right? So, but don't run away. There are platforms out there that can with modern technologies, leveraging AI, leveraging cloud tools, they can automate much of that complexity. So at reduced cost and for a fraction of the resources and time that traditional codes would take to accomplish. And secondly, take great care about your costs, right? So managing complexity is expensive. So leveraging platforms, modern platforms like Orderful, Digibee, for last mile integrations is really an accelerator that not only accelerate, but dramatically reduce your costs.
Thank you. Real quick, Eric, I do want to get into those audience Q&As in just a second. So just very quickly, just to sum up for us what you see in the world of EDI modernization, what's a high point there? Future, in other words, the so-called future-ready foundation of EDI.
Yeah, I think, you look at digital transformation over the years, like enterprises have been modernizing all parts of their tech stack, and EDI has kind of been like the last survivor, right? There's a huge opportunity to move all this legacy on-premise point-to-point integration into a common modern JSON API, and that's what we're trying to do. As a provider, what we're seeing in the market is, we're definitely leading, and companies are starting to follow us in terms of like what we're focused on, which is speed. So you're going to start to see a lot of other providers try to move faster as well, because they're starting to recognize that that's the essence of the problem for their customers. I think we'll be able to stay ahead of that with things like AI and continuing to build out our network. But I'm really excited to see kind of where the market goes in the next 5 years.
Great, thank you. Well, let's move into the audience Q&A section here. Let's bring the audience into the picture. We already have some questions that have been posted. Once again, continue to post them. We'll get to as many of them as we can. Let's start with this one, and I think it's probably go to Eric. I just got into Orderful to receive orders from government entities. We plan to use Orderful with our providers as a leader this year. Any advice on creating our own guidelines or mistakes we should avoid?
Yeah, thanks for signing up. We're excited to have you guys on. If you have, in B2B, there's always a leader and a follower. The leader sets the requirements, the follower, this is for the rest of the audience, the follower adheres, right? So if you're a brand, you're adhering to multiple retailers, or in Ivan's position, connecting to shippers, he's a follower, shippers a leader, or the carriers are following his requirements. So the challenge that's asked is, as a leader, you need to dictate these requirements to your followers. Typically companies have these guidelines kind of predefined. And if you don't, we'd be happy to set these up with you, right? So we have an onboarding architect team that, all they do all day is support customers and onboarding. And part of that is, for leaders, it's setting up those requirements, building the guidelines, and making it really easy for you guys to experience what those requirements can look like, and then distribute those to your followers. But we'd be happy to assist and spend time supporting you guys through creating that material.
Thanks. I've got a couple of questions which I think would be good for Rodrigo. Let me ask them both and get quick answers from you for both of them. Number one is, how long should I budget for more implementation? And number two is, what integration considerations should companies keep in mind? Let's start with the first one about time budget for implementation.
Yeah, it should budget for a recurring costs for integration, because integration runs as any other application that keeps providing value over and over and over. Should not break the banks, but it should be considering that as part of your stack, of your continuous stack of technology. So as long your needs are, you should provide that. And key considerations about making sure that you have your landscape mapped about how the applications you want to connect, what are trading partners, and what are the main requirements for performance, for reliability, for resilience, for our systems.
Okay. I think this question probably goes to Ivan. It says, what advice would you give to companies considering EDI modernization?
I think the advice that I would give to companies is that, you know, you don't have to, it's very scary when you have to migrate these EDI integrations that have been set for years, right? I'm not going to lie, it was a scary decision to make, but you know, you don't have to live with that constant pain, right? And in my case, as it relates to transportation, right? I think that we deserve. I have this constant joke around here, and it says, "Hey, transportation deserves elegant experiences." Right. And we do. And when it comes to and especially when it comes to EDI, right? It's not a sexy technology that we have to deal with, but there's I think that we definitely deserve to have some elegant experiences there. It's not a small project, right? But you know, it's worth it to get the level of stability that you will get. We haven't had a single outage on any of our trading partners since they went live with Orderful. The modernized connection component makes it very, very easy to troubleshoot those things, and just the simplicity of making a lot of these changes. Additionally, I think that even before all of this, you need to have a point of view on how you want to architect your technology stack within your organization. I'm a big fan of composable architectures, so which is essentially, think of it as Lego blocks that I can, you know, build however I want for the solution that I need today. And the solution that I need today may not be the same solution that I need a year or 2 years from now when my company has grown or some of my business my business needs have changed. So I think that consider that very, very closely. You need something that is going to keep you nimble and is going to better equip you to support the business in some of these complex business needs. So if I had to sum it all up, I would say, you know, stay nimble. You want something that is very, very scalable, and you want something that you can that is fast, right? So yeah, that would be my my advice to some of these companies.
And what about Hirschbach specifically, Ivan? What role does this whole implementation play in your broader strategy for improving your operations, for staying competitive in a very competitive market?
Massive. For us, it's the way we get business, right? If this doesn't work, we can't do business. I mean, my CEO, the chairman of the company, when I first came in, I mean, these guys were stressed every single day when we had these downtimes. Now I've stabilized that legacy system, and I've got some observability in there. It was a big distraction, something that I would have preferred not to have to focus a lot of time on. But I think that you know, now we've reached that level of stability, and we're getting really close in having all of our trading partners migrated over to Orderful. So for us, it's a big one, and it's a level of trust, right? The folks in customer service, folks in different parts of the organization, anytime there's a problem with, you know, hey, business is down, the first thing they look at is EDI. Well, is EDI down? So this is allowing us to reestablish trust across the organization, that because we own that door to get business from our customers, right? If I can't give my you know, my stakeholders the confidence that this is working, it's problematic. So for me, this is a big one, and I'm glad that we're getting really, really close to having all of our business migrated over. I sleep a lot better at nights today, but I'm going to sleep a lot better when 100% of our business is migrated over to Orderful.
Yeah. Another question for you, Ivan. They're asking, did you have to involve your customer or customers in the switch to Orderful, or was it something you were able to do without the customer even being aware?
We had to involve the customer. We definitely did have to involve the customer. I think that's probably the most time-consuming part. There were a handful of integrations that were pretty simple just because of the network that Eric mentioned, you know, they were already integrated with Orderful, but I would say that 90% of our customers had to be involved. But, you know, we also use that as an opportunity to centralize all of our trading partner requirements into a single platform. We didn't have that anymore. It wasn't centralized before. I think as early as yesterday, I went into Orderful, clicked on a customer, and I could see all of the requirements for specific customers before it was in somebody's head, right? That is all now there, and the contact information for those trading partners. So unfortunately, you still have to involve the customer, right?
Yeah. Okay. For Ivan, what should companies actually look for when evaluating EDI solutions? Clearly, there are options out there.
Yeah, there are many options out there. As a matter of fact, I mean, you know, I won't say any names on this call, but like I would say that the decision for us was really hard. There was two really, really good players, Orderful being one of them. I think you've got to evaluate the approach that they're taking to solving the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, what we want as I'm in the business of moving goods. I'm not in the business of managing EDI files, right? That's what Orderful is in the business of doing. So I think you need to make sure that they're going to take that whole level of complexity out of you, away from you, and allow you to focus on your core business and integrate that into your system the way that you want to conduct business. You want technology. You want a group of people that are really thinking about how EDI is evolving and where it's going. And you want simple interfaces. I mean, that's the reality, right? Everything is getting easier. Case in point with Rodrigo, right? I mean, putting together an integration pipeline 10 years ago was complex. Today, it's drag and drop, right? The same thing with EDI. So you definitely want to look at all of those. The experience. I know I may sound like, you know, hey, but this is B2B transactions. No, but you still have to have users internally. You know, you have to be concerned about the user experience they have to do their job. And it can't be complex because that just delays getting business done.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, I have to say, we are just about out of time. It's been a great presentation. We've learned a lot about modern EDI in this very short time, but I'm going to ask this one final question, and I'm going to direct it to Eric. It actually kind of asks you to sum up once again the trends that you're seeing in EDI modernization, and the questioner asks, how can we, the audience, get on board to take advantage of these trends in modernization of EDI?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing is companies needing to move fast, right? As supply chains are evolving, as you're adding new trading partners, there's an ever increasing demand to onboard EDI really, really fast. You think about, kind of the demand of a consumer asking for a 2-day shipping window set up by Amazon. Everybody provides that now, right? And what that means is that the EDI transactions have to be there. Everything has to be automated and integrated. So speed is really the essence of the future in terms of where this is going. As far as how you can get involved, you can reach out to us on our website. You could book a demo. We actually have a self-service product listed on our site as well. You can go and sign up and start playing around within our platform. We're the first EDI provider in the world to provide that experience. And then I think there's also a QR code here at the end of this webinar that we'll show you, that you can click on and get some more information about the rules engine, which Ivan mentioned, and in particular how AI is playing a role in that product, and how we're making data translation even easier and faster.
Let's bring that slide up now so our audience can get more information on what Eric just mentioned. We're going to see well, thank you. Definitely before we do that, I'm going to thank everybody. Here's what you can do. There is a QR code for an AI rules overview to learn how Orderful is implementing AI, along with a link to schedule a demo. And you, of course, can follow the company on LinkedIn and Twitter. So once again, boy, Ivan Ramirez and Eric Kaiser, Rodrigo Bernardinelli have given us a great presentation, a ton of information today. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, audience, for your participation and your great questions too. Best of luck to everybody. Stay well. Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
everybody have a
Bob.
great day.
Thanks,
Thank
Adam.
you.
Thanks, Rodrigo.
Thank you.